I'll be right on. I'm having technical difficulties. Hello? Okay, guys, sorry about that. I did have a little bit of technical difficulties there for a second. I moved something and everything became unplugged. So, hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Tanya, or TitaniumBuilt, whichever you want to call me. I don't prefer one over the other. Doesn't matter to me. As you guys are coming in, if you could please hit that like button. If you appreciate today's case coverage, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. We are doing a live, we've been doing a live subscriber count. So right now we are at 3312. I'm sorry, actually 3316. And I just like to put it up here throughout like the whole live. I like to just show you guys how much we're growing. So we're at 3316 right now. Hopefully we'll grow a little more by the end of the chat. So with that being said, we also have a members only that you can join. I did believe, did I put it in the chat? I think I did. Nope, I didn't. So I'm going to grab that really quick so I can put that in the chat for you guys. In case you guys want to join our channel membership, it is there to join. Also, you can join from the main page as well. So I don't have mods, so this is me doing my mod duties. That's me being funny. That's me being funny. Lastly, thank you for coming. I do appreciate you all being here. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below over this case that we'll be discussing tonight, which is the Idaho 4. And I'm trying to find where I can get you the membership tab. So I don't know why they got to make everything so complicated. Here we go. Just paste it in there. There we go. Hi, good to hear from you too. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Doreen. I appreciate that. My nose is itching. Does that mean someone's talking about me or something? If your nose itches. So the first thing I wanted to show you tonight, before we get into the Nancy Grace, her newest podcast, which she just came out with that, I believe yesterday it was. I can double check, but it says jaw-dropping details emerge in the Idaho student murders. So I wanted to listen to her tonight and get her take on what she thinks since his arrest. So let me share this tab with you guys. And how is everybody doing tonight? It is Friday. Finally, we're here. It's Friday evening. You guys are probably off tomorrow. If you guys work outside of the home, you're probably off tomorrow, which is awesome. More time to spend catching up on YouTube, right? Because there's so much to catch up on, I feel like. There's stuff coming out. For us being under a gag order, we're not really, we haven't stopped talking about anything. There's stuff that's been coming out. Details are emerging left and right from officers that are either within the case that maybe did an interview prior to the gag order being reinstated, or instated, I guess. I don't know if that's even a word, but you know what I mean. They maybe did an interview prior to that, but there's just new things that are coming out. So we're here to talk about them. So the first thing I wanted to show you, hi, Encyclopedia of True Crime and the Unknown. Hi, I want to say hi to everybody. Hi, Lady Justice. Hi, Leslie. I saw that you were off, finally off. Lady Justice is probably ready to be off tonight too. She's probably already off. Sugar and Spice, TGIF. I remember watching TGIF as a kid. Remember that? Like all the shows, all the good shows back in the 90s. That was like the time. Because, you know, you can actually like look forward. I mean, you look forward to Friday anyway because you were a kid and, you know, you didn't have school on the weekends. But TGIF was like a big thing back then, you know? I just think it was. So I wanted to read this to you guys because this kind of came out. It came out today a little bit ago. Well, it came out this morning, but I didn't see it before this morning's live. So I saw a couple other creators were talking about it when I got off the live earlier, and I was like, what? What is this? So I was going to go ahead and read it to you guys. But it does say that accused killer Bryan Kohberger cleaned his infamous white Hyundai meticulously after the University of Idaho murders. And let me know what you guys think on all this too. And was seen wearing surgical gloves several times before finally being collared, according to a law enforcement source. The quadruple murder suspect cleaned his car inside and out, not missing an inch. The source, who was briefed on observations made by investigators in the lead up to Kohberger's arrest, told CNN on condition of anonymity. So they just don't want to be, they don't want their name out there, but this is what they saw. They said Kohberger, 28, also was seen wearing gloves multiple times outside his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, before he was arrested there on December 30th. So the rumors were true, I guess, about him wearing gloves. He must have knew he was being followed. I don't know. All of these signs to me make me feel like he knew that he was being followed. It says the PhD student who had been under surveillance for 4 days at one point was observed leaving the house at about 4 a.m. and putting bags in the neighbor's garbage bins, the source added. So he went outside, took the trash out at 4 a.m., decided, it's a great time to take out the trash, 4 a.m., and instead of putting it in his own trash receptacle, because of course, he don't want to dirty his own, he just took the trash over. That's his OCD. He just took the trash over and put it in the neighbor's trash. Makes sense, doesn't it? So it's crazy. That's just insane to me. It says on December 27th, agents recovered items from the Kohbergers' garbage bins and the bags they saw him put in the neighbor's bins. And the contents were sent to the Idaho Crime Lab. I couldn't get my wording there. So there he is coming into court in his brand new, let me point it out, brand new suit, little prison suit there, little prison guard or prison jailer outfit. I don't know why he gets a brand new one. You can see the folds in it still from where it just came out of the bag. I would have been like, you wear this nasty, dingy one because, and wipe that smirk off your face. There he is with his Ted Bundy smirk. Oh, I think so too. Baby girl said that she said, I think the FBI have more after the car being taken in, and I heard the FBI saw him dropping trash into neighbors' trash cans at 4 a.m. I hope they found the crime scene things in that trash. Me too. Hello, Tommy Larson. She's off every day. I figured you were after I said that. I definitely think he knew he was being followed. Yeah, I think so too. Now that this is all coming out, I'm like, he went and he cleaned his car. He wore surgical gloves. He put his trash into the neighbor's trash receptacles at 4 a.m. It wasn't like it was in the afternoon where people could see him. He made sure that he wouldn't get caught. That's just, to me, you're trying to hide something. So I'm hoping that they found whatever that he was trying to hide. I'm hoping they found the murder weapon is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that they, they found that. Let's see. And then the next thing I was going to show you is this. This came out a couple hours ago. So this was on News Nation, and the defense, it says the house will remain a crime scene until February. Let me actually show you that really quick. So I'm going to share this with you. And it's just the district court. It's just saying that, this is just the paper saying that the crime scene located at 1122 King Road, including the home, the outbuildings, trailers, vehicles, everything will be preserved, which means the house will be locked. Crime scene tape will remain and on-site police presence, but on-site police presence is not required. The crime scene will remain preserved until February 1st, 2023, or until further order of the court. So as of right now, they're just saying that they want to keep it locked down as of right now until February 1st. Now on here, it does say on-site police presence is not required. So, I mean, most crime scenes, you don't have police presence. You put the crime scene tape on and, you know, you leave the scene. And if people break in, then they go to jail. But with this being such a big scene, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that there should probably be somebody there. Just keeping an eye. And then I will go ahead and play this video for you here. And it's not very long.
4 University of Idaho students were killed, 2 remain untouched, and still a crime scene, at least for now. The defense has asked the home be preserved until at least February 1st. It's coming as suspect Bryan Kohberger appeared in an Idaho court for the very first time yesterday. It's the first step on a presumed long road to justice for the victims and their families. Senior national correspondent Brian Inton is live in Moscow. Brian, we just got some brand new video of officials back at the victim's home.
Yeah, this is all happening right now. We just got this video within the last couple of minutes. Our producer is over at the house. We're outside the jail. Bryan Kohberger being held in the jail behind me. But at the house right now, take a look at this. There's action at the house. Detectives have shown back up at the crime scene, which is just about 5 minutes or so from here. You can see the tape is up. There's 2 pickup trucks there in the driveway, and it appears that they are loading mattresses into the back of those pickup trucks right now, which is interesting because at one point they began to clear this crime scene. It sounded like they were going to open it back up about a week ago. Then the judge decided, no, we're going to keep it a crime scene. And then today, detectives back out there. They're there right now, again, taking stuff out of the house. And it appears among the items that they are removing, they have taken several mattresses outside of the house. And I'm looking at the video. I do recognize those 2 men, at least one of them as Moscow police, at least one of them is a Moscow police detective. Meanwhile, we had the big court hearing here yesterday. Family is still processing that they are now going to be going through this court process. Bryan Kohberger never looked at the victims' families in court Thursday, only looking in the direction of his lawyer and the judge. Kaylee Gonzalez's parents were sitting right behind him.
I just looked at a guy that looks like a normal, everyday, kid. I mean, I didn't see anything there that caught my eye. I just was overtaken by the fact that I was in a courtroom going over a case that had to do with 2 people that I cared and loved about. It was a little bit unreal.
Unreal to be in the same room as the man accused of killing your daughter. It will be a long, drawn-out court process for the victims' families, and all indications so far are Kohberger plans to plead not guilty. The death penalty is on the table in Idaho, but the prosecutor and families would have to be on board.
I'm assuming that you are in favor of the death penalty for this defendant.
If our daughters could switch places with him, and I'm saying Maddie as my daughter, we would do it in a heartbeat. If they could sit there and have 3 squares, a place to live, and we could call them, we could write them letters, they could watch TV, they could get educated.
I would love if Maddie and Kaylee were doing life in prison right now.
Yeah, so
at least we could talk to them.
That's not.
They'd be breathing.
A punishment equivalent to being killed. That's God's role. And if you want to play God's role, then you're going to have to go answer to him.
Okay, so you heard from the Gonzalez family. They're saying that they are for the death penalty in this case. Still a long way to go, though, before any official decision would be made. Obviously, the prosecutor would have to look everything over, would have to meet with all of the families. I would be through the process, quite a bit of time from now before they would make an official decision about whether to pursue the death penalty, Nicole.
All right, and Brian, of course, you've been covering this from the very beginning. As you know, we've been soliciting viewer questions on social media. So we want to present you with a couple of those. We start with one. This first one is asking, so the public will no longer have access to any details of this case from today moving forward and throughout the trial. Is that an accurate statement? That's coming from a viewer, Brian.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. No, it is not an accurate statement. We will have access to all of the court hearings, and they are allowing cameras in court here in Idaho, and a lot of information will be coming out in court. So all of that will be new, and we will be there every step of the way. What we won't have access to is interviewing the police or interviewing the prosecutors or the defense. The judge has decided that they cannot do interviews while the court process plays out.
Yeah, which makes sense. Important clarification there. All right, Bryan, one more before we let you go this time. Was any evidence found at Bryan Kohberger's Washington apartment?
At his Washington apartment, yes. We were there. Nancy Liu, our correspondent, was there as they brought out boxes and boxes of evidence. They were there for 6 hours or so, pulling stuff out of his apartment. They also searched his office on the WSU campus, Washington State University, and they also searched his parents' home in Pennsylvania, and they brought evidence out of all of those places. So they're going over all of that now. Keep in mind, Nicole, that probable cause affidavit that we talked so much about yesterday, that's just a little bit of what they know and what they have. There's still so much that's going to be coming out in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. And our viewers can see on the screen right now, if you have questions for Bryan Enton, just head to social media, use the hashtag NewsNation. We will try to get them to him. Bryan will be back throughout rush hour to answer more questions. Bryan, thank you for that reporting. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I went off the right tab. Okay. So yeah, so they're allowing a lot of things. For it being a gag order, I didn't realize that we would have this much information given to us. So Bryan Eaton will probably never leave Idaho until the case is over with. He probably just won't. He'll be out there. He'll be reporting. I love News Nation. I really do. I'm really glad that they're the ones that are out there doing a lot of the coverage on this case. Anyway, the coverage that I cover and put on my channel anyway, a lot of it is News Nation. But I do believe in the death penalty in this case, 4 murders plus burglary on top of that. So crime within a crime. I think that the parents are, the Gonzalez family anyway, they are for the death penalty. Now, I cannot say about Maddie or Zana's father or, the Chapin family, Ethan's parents. But as far as we know, we saw the interview earlier. We did the full interview of the Gonzalez family, their reaction to seeing Bryan in court. We did a full live on that earlier, and then I did another video that I put out. That was a video of just Mr. Steve Gonzalez talking about the case. So if you guys want to watch that, that's another pre-recorded that I did earlier. I put out like 3 videos today, so I did a lot. But I just wanted to show you that. Sorry. That investigators, that it is a crime scene as of right now until February the 1st. After that, they can come back and say, hey, we want to go ahead and extend that as well. Now, I'm going to show you a picture, and I want to say, I guess it's a trigger warning. I don't know. My channel is 18 and up, and I feel like if you guys are here and we're in true crime, we should all be able to look at things and not throw a crazy fit about it or anything. So I saw this picture earlier, and it appears that there is evidence on top of it. So let me see, actually. Let me see if I can go down. Let me go to his page really quick, because there might have been. So I was going to show you this first. Let me show you this. This is just them bringing this stuff out. Okay, so that was them bringing some of the stuff out and putting it into the back of these trucks. Now, I don't know. I think that I saw one here that it was the police that were actually doing it. And look, it does see other people are seeing it now too. That's what I was going to point out. You can see staining on the mattress in the gray truck. If you look closely, you can see the staining on the truck. On the mattress in the back of the truck. Now, they did put the mattress in sort of a mattress cover. And now I don't know if that's to preserve the mattress inside and preserve like the evidence, or if that's just so that people didn't see the mattresses coming out with blood stains on them. I'm not sure. I think that if they needed this as evidence, they wouldn't necessarily put it in the back of a pickup truck and take it to the station. I would say they wouldn't do that. So maybe they were just removing these items and disposing of them. I know that a cleanup crew was supposed to come in and do that, but maybe they were doing it, or maybe it's the defense and they asked for these pieces of evidence, and the discovery and the prosecution said just give them the whole damn mattress. But what do you guys think? Because that's kind of weird. I think that they'll end up using this stuff. Yeah, like they should. I would think they would use this stuff in court. You would think they would use the blood splatter, but I guess they don't need the. I mean, they don't need the mattress necessarily if they have the pictures for it. But I wanted to show you guys that because that was just a little off-putting to me. And I'm not sure who had the white bed. So whoever has the white frame bed, that'll be probably whose mattress that was. I'm assuming that's whose mattress it would be, but I don't know. Oh, thank you, Alexander. I cannot pronounce the last name. Kolchak. We see some crazy channels around here on my channel too. We talk about them here, don't we? So we can go ahead and get into the Nancy Grace podcast because I love Nancy. She always just lets it go. I don't know. I just like her. I like that she just doesn't have a filter. So let me see. I need to start writing down everything that we go over on the lives in the morning so I can tell you guys to watch them in the evenings because we go over so much all the time. But I did do a live this morning at 9:15. We did one for a couple hours, and then I did two pre-recorded videos today, which I just recorded them and literally put them on. So isn't that an odd way to transfer a mattress, Lady Justice? Yeah, I thought so too. Only if you're moving like to another dorm would you move a mattress like that. You're not like that's a crime scene, that you're moving. But then again, I guess they could be done with it. That I'm not sure. I don't know. I hope we find out. I'm sure we'll find out too. I'm assuming that since everyone else is kind of seeing that the mattresses have like some sort of red staining or a dark staining on it, that Brian Eaton will see it eventually, and then he'll come out and say something about it. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. I was going to see if I could look up Brian really quick before we get into. Nope, that's it. Before we get into Nancy Grace, but we'll go ahead and get into Nancy Grace. But it does say that investigators are back at the crime scene, so it was investigators that were most likely, taking the mattresses out. And then if anything breaking news happens, because I feel like something always happens when we go through a live, like it really will. Some breaking news comes in. If anything comes in, I'll be first to tell you guys. Hello, Rye Davis. Is that right? Rye Davis. Good evening. Oh, Florida. Oh, I bet it's nice. I bet it's beautiful. I bet it's warm. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. I'm in Ohio. It's cold. Actually, it's 33 here, so you can't complain because it could be a lot colder. And then I do have some stuff for you guys for tomorrow too already. So be on the lookout for that because we'll do a morning live or maybe afternoon. So we're going to go ahead and listen to Nancy Grace. I'm going to go ahead and read you. Usually she doesn't have a caption on the side, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you because she actually does today. But it says, and it's really small too. So it says the probable cause affidavit explaining why Bryan Kohberger is the prime suspect in the murders of 4 Idaho students has been released. The document contains some bombshell details, including the fact that one of the surviving roommates saw an intruder moments after the stabbings. According to the affidavit, the surviving roommate said everyone in the home was asleep by 4 a.m. on November 13th, except for victim Zaina Kernadel. She had made a food order through DoorDash and had used TikTok at 4:12 a.m. And What do you guys think? Do you think if Zaina was awake, do you think that Ethan was awake eating food with her? Like sharing food? If it was just one meal, they were sharing it? I personally do. I feel like they would both be awake, especially being that young. You know, I don't know. My boyfriend and I, we've been together, it'll be 7 years next month. And we share food all the time, like fast food, late at night, a lot. As much as I don't want to admit it, we do. And we'll just share a meal because, like, you know, you're not really that hungry, but you just want something to eat. You know, you're getting ready for bed. So let me know what you guys think about that. You think Kaylee was awake too? I think that a lot of them, I think they all might have been awake. Or if maybe Maddie was asleep and she had just fallen asleep. But if Kaylee was awake, I don't know. Maddie could have been awake and Kaylee could have been, or I mean, Kaylee could have been awake and Maddie definitely could have been asleep. It says, one of the surviving roommates said they later heard a male voice say something along the lines of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And that's chilling to me. That roommate claimed they opened their door to spot a man in a mask walking towards her. She claimed she did not know the man, who was described as being athletically built with bushy eyebrows. So apparently he was wearing a face, like just a face mask. That's really strange to me. Usually, I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but used to wear ski masks back in my day. The suspect reportedly walked past the roommate and left the home through a sliding door. The roommate said she stood there in shock, but she eventually locked herself in her room. The affidavit also alleges that Kohberger's phone was in the area of the home more than 12 times before the November 13th slayings. And we went over how I felt about the roommate and the fight, flight, and freeze. I did a video on it actually today, and we went over it in my live. So if you want to watch that, you can get my opinion on that. According to the affidavit, Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath located next to Maddie Mogen's body. Cops reportedly acquired his DNA on December 27th by taking trash from his family's home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The trash sample was reportedly a 99.98% match to the DNA located at the crime scene. Okay, well, they got that a little twisted. The trash sample was actually, it came back to a 98.98% match to being the biological father of the person who did this. So it was his dad's DNA that came back, and then they traced it to his, that's how they traced it through genealogy or something, like to get it to his DNA. Sometimes Nancy's a little incorrect, I feel like. But it's probably just because I'm so, like, fact-driven that kills me, so. And, oh, I saw Annette. Hello, Annette. Hello, Marilyn. I saw you guys come in. I meant to say hello. Oh, Lady Justice tries to be friendly. We're a friendly group here, I feel like. We are. We're a good group. And I forgot to put down, it was 33. So we were at 3316 in our, before I go to Nancy. So we are doing a live subscriber count. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers so we could do our next giveaway. And I get my TitaniumBuilt sign behind me. So a little for me, a little for you. We all win. It's a live count. So I see a lot of creators do this. So I thought it would be cute to do it. We're at 3321. And when we started the stream tonight, we were at 3316. So we're not doing too bad. We have 30 people in here. If everybody could like the video, that would be great. It sends it into the algorithm. More people will enjoy it. And they'll come and chat with us. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play Nancy's podcast because it is a little bit longer and we'll probably be taking breaks. That way we can talk through it. Oh, and Tommy Larson, you're right. He, I feel like he was the stalker that Kaylee was talking about because the fact that he was at that house 12 times before he committed the crime. He was stalking them. He was lying in wait. Thank you, Annette. Yes, show some love. Hit the like button. It's fun to do, and it's free to do. It's free and it's fun.
I'm Cheryl McCollum, host of the brand new cold case podcast, Zone 7. We're going to be talking to family members, detectives, prosecutors, and nationally recognized experts that are in my... I'm Cheryl McCollum.
I wanted to let you guys know too, I can't really control the volume on this. So if it's loud, I'm really sorry. And I will mute it whenever I need to talk, and I'll mute me too. But I can't control the volume. So hopefully it's not too loud for you guys.
I was the youngest medical legal death investigator in the country.
To solve these cases on air together. Listen to Zone 7 on the iHeartRadio app, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
I'm Joseph Scott Morgan. I was the youngest medical legal death investigator in the country. The world that I inhabited gave me insight into things that most of the general public can't even begin to imagine, always having to view the abnormal in the context of the normal, to make them make sense, if you will. When all is said and done, I was the voice of the dead. Listen to Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Finally, the probable cause affidavit for the suspect in the brutal slayings of 4 beautiful young Idaho University students has been unsealed. And what a bombshell! From DNA to cell phone records, it goes on and on. Police now believe and reveal that they say Bryan Kohberger stalked the 4 victims all the way back until June, watching them at odd hours late in the night and early in the morning hours, very similar to the times the murders took place. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. This probable cause affidavit has also spun out more questions than answers. For instance, take a listen to our friends at King 5.
The first thing coming out of this is that one of the surviving roommates in that home tells investigators she was woken up by the sound of crying and saw a masked man dressed in black walk right by her. Another big takeaway is that investigators say DNA was found on a knife sheath found at the crime scene. A small piece of DNA was found on there, and then DNA taken from Kohberger's family home in Pennsylvania was matched to that knife sheath, they say, with more than 99.9% accuracy.
99.9998% accuracy, excluding all other possibilities that DNA came from anyone other than the killer's biological father. Again, thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories. We've got an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning now from a bombshell document. But first, I want to go to a very special guest joining us, Laura Ingle, senior correspondent, Fox News. You can find her on Twitter at Laura Ingle. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. What we were just playing from King 5 really lets the cat out of a bag regarding one of the roommates, Dylan, one of the roommates that lived. Do you see the, let me just say, inconsistency in her statement? Not that she's inconsistent, but it's inconsistent with what we think we know. All right. Because we've been led to believe that she and another roommate lived on the bottom floor with 2 roommates on the second floor, other room on the 3rd floor. But if she is on the bottom floor, Laura Ingle, then how did she see the perp dressed all in black, 5'10" or taller, bushy eyebrows, face over nose and mouth, athletic? How did she see him go out the sliding glass door if she's on the bottom floor?
You're right. I mean, this probable cause affidavit gives us these new chilling details of these ambush murders. I mean, things that we answer.
I guess nobody told Nancy, or maybe she's getting ready to say it, but nobody told Nancy that, Dylan, in fact, moved bedrooms. So she was on the bottom floor. Actually, here, I'll show you. And then I just need to pull up one more little thing, and then I can show you both of them. So Dylan, she did stay on the ground floor. That was like that's where she was going to live or whatever. I think that's when, when the roommate didn't move in, that was supposed to move in, the fifth roommate or the sixth roommate or whatever it was, when she didn't move in, then she went ahead and went up to the upstairs floor. Oh, I just did that twice. Sorry. I have like a million bookmarks in here. This isn't good. Okay. So when she first moved in, she lived in bedroom B. That would be Dylan, and then Bethany would be in bedroom A. As you come in the first floor, and not the back slider door, but the first floor all the way down at the bottom. So then she moved from bedroom B, which I would have stayed at. I said earlier, I thought bedroom B was charming for the fact that it had the bookcases down there. So I remember exactly what it looks like inside. So then she moved up to the second floor to bedroom C. And then Zaina's bedroom was bedroom D. And that's where her and Ethan were. Sometimes Nancy's a little off, so we'll just correct her if we need to.
There's a lot of questions and leaves a lot unanswered still. So the person identified in the probable cause affidavit, only identified as DM, that we realize is one of the surviving roommates, Dylan Morganson, describes 3 times in that night. Remember, police originally told us that the 2 surviving roommates slept through it all. And, the 911 call didn't come till just before noon that day, that there was an unconscious person at the residence. But now we see that this surviving roommate came in contact, but saw the suspect in the house, but first heard a noise thinking that it was maybe Kaylee playing with her dog, then heard what sounded like crying. She opened her door 3 times, and on that 3rd time, she says that she saw a suspect dressed head to toe in black, wearing a mask, only revealing bushy eyebrows, walk right by her, and then exit through the kitchen to the sliding glass door and exit. That only makes sense if she came upstairs from the ground floor, which is where we heard she was sleeping, or there's another bedroom that we maybe didn't know about, that she was on that 2nd floor. That's a huge question going along with if she encounters this person at between 4 and 4:30 a.m., why a 911 call was not made until nearly noon. But my question, Nancy, is this. Remember, the call was, there is an unconscious person. Did the other roommate, did she pass out? Did she go into hiding? Was she in that frozen state of shock that she said that's what she stood there in shock when she saw the person? You can only imagine how terrifying that would have been. But why that time gap? That is one of the biggest takeaways of this probable cause affidavit, why that call was not made.
You're hearing the voice of Laura Ingalls, senior correspondent with the Fox News Channel, joining us. She has been on the ground from the get-go on this case. Laura, if you would you go through, and to me right now, this is the main fly in the ointment after reading that probable cause affidavit. Would you explain everything you know to this juncture about what the roommate, Dylan Morganson, said? And we learned this from probable cause. And remember, there may be a lot more, and there may be a very easy explanation about what we're talking about to answer this question. Was she sleeping on the 2nd floor? Was she somewhere other than the bottom floor? Why didn't she call 911 immediately? Did the defendant see her? There's no indication that he did. So many questions, but remember, a probable cause affidavit is literally, think of a skeleton. What all it's missing. The eyes, the eyebrows, the skin, the face, the hair, everything. It's a bare bones outline for a judge, just enough evidence so the judge will sign an arrest warrant. Okay. They don't give the judge the whole file that explains everything. They give a bare bones affidavit. They get that warrant and bam, they go make the arrest. But for everybody else, I want to hear Laura Ingle explain what we know right now about DM. That's how she's referred to in the PC affidavit, still in Morganson. What exactly did she say, Laura Ingalls?
She told police, and one other nugget here that I didn't know either, and I don't think anybody did, is that Xana Kernodle received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. That is new. And that she was awake, according to her phone records, at approximately 4:12 because her phone, Xana Kernodle, who lived on the second floor, was likely awake using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12.
Okay, whoa. Laura Ingle, you got me drinking from the fire hydrant. Again, too much, too fast. Because I want to cross-reference something. His car, a white Elantra, was spotted by other surveillance video in the King Road area between 3:29 and 4:20. Videos from the King Road area that night. Or is it 4 to 4:25? Actually, I think it's both. So what we're hearing right now about the DoorDash and the TikToks fit in perfectly with the surveillance video from the King Road area. You just have to lay on one layer after the next to build this case. Okay, back to Laura Ingle.
All right.
Slow it down, lady. Tell me again everything we know about roommate DM.
So when we go to page 4 of the probable cause affidavit, DM stated that she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she woke up at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which was located on the third floor. And that is what I'm referencing. That is the first time I have seen or heard that her bedroom was on the second floor.
Or wait a minute, could she have just been sleeping there on a sofa?
Sure. But it says in the affidavit, he stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor.
Yeah,
That's what it says on page 4 at the top. DM stated she was awoken at 4 a.m. She thought she heard Kaylee playing with her dog upstairs on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of, quote, "There's someone here." A review of the records obtained from a forensic download of Xana Kernodle's phone showed this also could have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12. So I'm not sure if they're saying that voice could have been, "There's someone here," coming from her phone. Nonetheless, that is what she heard. And then she states to police that she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. She stated she opened her door for a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room.
So I'm just looking at this. I'm not sure about the, I was looking at what Jim said. I don't know about the knife. I haven't read where they said that the knife had his DNA on it. So let me know where you saw that, because I would love to be able to see that one too. Because I do have the probable cause affidavit, and on the last page, it does say that on December 28th, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the, actually, I'm sorry. I should have read this before I asked you. Doreen, I'm sorry. No, that was his dad's DNA. Doreen, you are right. So I'm going to read it again. The Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. So it was his father, Michael's profile that they matched it up to, of at least 99.998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. And if anyone needs me to, I could always bring it up. Actually, I just will really quick because it's just all the way on the last page. So it's not like we have to even like go that far. So what I just read was right here. I started right here at the Idaho. The Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheaf identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sharing that tab with you. I thought that I was. But I have it highlighted if you guys want to read it again. Sorry about that. I thought I was reading it to you. But if there is any more DNA out there, I would love to know if we have any more. And then on the live earlier, we did show you what the sheaf looks like too, with the and where the buckle would be, and what would how they would get their DNA on there. Okay, I'll go ahead and share this, and we'll go ahead and start talking about Nancy again.
She said she heard a male voice saying something to the effect of, quote, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," end quote. Then, at approximately 4:17, a security camera located on King Road, which is immediately to the northwest of 1112 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. That security camera, which is next door, less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. And then finally, the most chilling part, DM stated she opened her door a third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Described the figure as about 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a, quote, frozen shock phase. The male walked toward the back sliding glass door. She then locked herself in her room after seeing the male. She did not recognize the male, and this leads investigators to believe the murderer left the scene.
You are hearing Laura Engel, senior correspondent with Fox News Channel, breaking down what we know about DM's testimony, what we know she saw, what she heard, what she experienced the night her roommates were murdered.
A Fox Nation exclusive.
An international pop star stripped of human rights. How does that happen? Easier than you think. Join us for...
I was going to read some of your comments because you guys have some really good comments. Oh, okay. Yeah. So maybe an undercover of FBI tried to get BK's DNA, but he wore gloves everywhere. Yeah, I know that they were going through the trash and stuff. I think that they didn't want to spook him. I don't know if they knew how much his parents had money wise, or if they thought they could get him. I mean, he already went 3,000 or 2,500 miles across country. Who's to say he wasn't going to run first place he got? I don't know. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I was not listening to. I was looking and then I wasn't looking. So you're right, Jim. That's why I love my chat, because you guys will tell me. You're like, nope, I said that, and I'll be like, oh man. Yeah, so definitely, I believe that, and I definitely believe they had his DNA too, and it was his on the night, like the knife sheath or whatever. They matched it up. They matched it up to him, and they probably pulled, DNA out of that. Out of the trash, and maybe when they were writing this probable cause, they just needed to put in that they had someone's DNA that matched back to him, even if it was just through his father. Do you get what I'm saying? Because a lot of the evidence, they don't even need to put in the probable cause. They just need to put enough in there to kind of get the warrant to arrest him, and then they kind of want to save as much as they can save for court, and to surprise him. And I think that's why he wanted to go back to Idaho so fast too, is because he's so cocky and he wanted to know what kind of evidence that, they in fact had. They had. Dylan is so lucky and she's traumatized. I hope she gets better because I suffer from it. Well, you should watch my live from earlier. I explained how I feel like she could have done exactly what she did and why she did it. Because I've been there. Trauma-wise. Extreme trauma. Never have I seen like a perpetrator like right in front of me. Mine was my father. But very traumatizing. And yeah, you can either fight, flight, or freeze. And in that instance, I froze. Nowadays, I fight. But except for if someone knocks on my door. See, and then that could be like a thing too, because now I'm like, I'm a fighter when it comes to some things, but then I'm a flighter when it comes to other things. And I am getting to that age where I know the difference, you know. You get to a certain age where you know what you're scared of and what like triggers you and, you know, what doesn't trigger you. Yeah, that was this morning's live. Yep. I talked about my whole, well, I didn't tell you guys the whole story about my dad passing away, but I gave you the gist of it. That way you guys would know. Because I really had a revelation on the live this morning when we were talking about Dylan and how, you know, she was just standing there and stuff. And then I was like, oh, wow, I've done that. So, okay, we'll play Nancy again. We don't have too much time to go, but we'll play her for a while.
A deep dive into Britney Spears' conservatorship. Trapped, streaming now on Fox Nation.
A few days before Christmas, Janelle Matthews disappeared from her home. There were no signs of a struggle, no eyewitnesses, no DNA recovered. But what if the answer had always been there? What if a true crime fanatic who'd been talking about the case was more than just an obsessive fan? The groundbreaking true crime podcast Suspect is back with a new story that attempts to separate fact from fiction and one man's true crime obsession from a motive for murder.
He says, "Don't fuck with me, Officer Edgerton. I've buried more people than you'll know."
He's providing information that hadn't even been released to the news yet.
He's such a good liar that he can convince the juror that he wasn't involved.
Follow Suspect, Vanished in the Snow on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus and Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.
I'm Cheryl McCollum, host of the brand new cold case podcast, Zone 7. We're going to be talking to family members, detectives, prosecutors, and national...
Sorry, I should have fast forwarded the commercial, but I didn't realize it was that long, so it should be over after this one.
Recognized experts that are in my Zone 7, the group of professionals that I've called on to help me work hundreds of cases you've heard of and thousands you haven't. We are going to solve these cases on air together. Listen to Zone 7 on the iHeartRadio app, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
I'm Joseph Scott Morgan. I was the youngest medical legal death investigator in the country. I started my career on the mean streets of New Orleans and finished up as a senior investigator with the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office in Atlanta. The first time I ever made a death notification, I knew after that moment that I was going to try to be as compassionate as I possibly could. When families are rocked by death, the only thing they really want are answers. They ask how, where, sometimes why. They have no understanding. And for me, I would have to give voice to those things, to describe them, to make them make sense, if you will. When all is said and done, I was their advocate. I was the voice of the dead. I speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. Listen to Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace.
Straight out to Cheryl McCollum joining us, founder and director of the Cold Case Research Institute. You can find her at coldcasecrimes.org. Cheryl, what do you make of it?
It sounds like to me that the murder started on the third floor, which is really curious to me because if you've got DoorDash coming at 4, she's on TikTok at 4:12 on the second floor.
Do me a favor, use proper names so we all know she who. Go ahead, start over, please.
Okay. Well, again, if you've got Dylan hearing dogs barking, hearing the crying,
having this strange person talking to her between 4:12 and 4:17, and then you've got the car that we all knew to look for, the white Elantra at 4:20, leaving at a high rate of speed. It sounds to me like Dylan at 4:00 heard something on the third floor that she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog. But again, whatever was occurring on the second floor between 4 and 4:12 to me is critical. So it sounds like this started on the third floor with Kaylee.
Straight out to Joe Scott Morgan joining us, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and star of Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. What do you make of Cheryl's interpretation of the timeline?
There's one piece of evidence here that I think gives an indication that it's third floor.
It started on the third floor.
Yes, it started on the third floor, and the indication of that is a single piece of evidence, which is in fact the sheath that was found adjacent, according to the affidavit, to Megan's body in the bed right there. And the fact that the knife was unsheathed in that area and left behind gives an indication that that's where it started. At least to me, that's a place to begin. And then after it was done, these homicides were committed on the third floor. The progression goes down to the second floor, where Ethan and Zena were.
Guys, I'm just trying to take in everything that happened to these young people that night. Think about it. My twins just turned 15. These victims are just a few years older than them, in their beds. No idea what was to befall them. And now we hear Bryan Kohberger had been around them on their perimeter over and over and over, watching them, stalking them. In the last hours, Kohberger in court. Take a listen to our cut 245, King 5.
Bryan Kohberger was in court. He was in an orange jumpsuit, but was not in any type of handcuffs or shackles that we could see. He just said a few brief words responding to judges' questions. And here's what came out of this morning's court appearance. He was formally charged with 4 counts of murder, 1 count of burglary. But the big takeaway is that due to Idaho law, once he makes that appearance in court, the probable cause documents are then made public. That's essentially a paper that's written by law enforcement laying out their case as to why they believe this is their man in this murder investigation.
Straight out to a special guest joining us in addition to Laura Ingle from Fox News. CeCe Moore is with us. And to the rest of the panel, I'm getting to you as quickly as I can, but please jump in when you have a thought. CeCe Moore is, well, she's brilliant. She's chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs. CeCe, I want you to address this. The first time I used a statistic like this in court with DNA trying to prove a case, it's, an astronomical, a fantastical number. But the number is, and this is what we know, and anybody on the panel can backtrack on this after CeCe answers. We know that that team that was watching Kohberger as he crisscross the country to go back home, 2,500 miles from Idaho to the Poconos with his dad in the Elantra in question. They had 2 tasks. 1, to keep eyes on Kohberger. So the moment that arrest warrant issued, they could effect an arrest when the time was right. This is what was called a highly at-risk arrest. It's called a dynamic entry, when the person you're going to arrest could really do anything. You got to be ready. Keep eyes on him and to secure DNA. Okay? And this is how they did it. We learned from the affidavit. They watched Bryan Kohberger at his parents' Pennsylvania home. They saw him leave the home. Did you know this, Jack and Sid? They see him leave the home around 4 a.m. in the dark of the night, taking out the trash. Now, I took out the trash this morning at 5 a.m., but that's just me. But here's the kicker. I didn't put it in the neighbor's in their dumpster. He did. He took the family trash to the neighbors and put the trash in their trash can. He also put some in their own trash can later. So why would he do that? Well, of course, they went right over there and got it out. And guess what, CeCe Moore? It proves that the DNA on the snap button of that knife hilt, the DNA found there, the male DNA, compared to the trash from the Kohberger family home, all the male population of the world is excluded to 99.9998%. Could you explain that, Cece?
Yes. So these are numbers, as you know, that we see in court. This is court admissible evidence, but it is also what we see in traditional paternity tests. So anytime someone is taking a paternity test, they're doing the exact same type of comparison that they did here. And those are the numbers that are court admissible in those cases as well, when you're trying to establish paternity. But that is not the final step. Once they have gotten that DNA to that crime lab, realized, okay, this is a male DNA, but it's not our suspect. This is the father of our suspect. The next step would be, after they get that warrant for arrest and they get Bryan in custody, they want to get his DNA directly from him. That is going to be the final step of the DNA testing and evidence. And once they get that exact match from Bryan, they're going to have numbers similar to what they quoted for that paternity test certainty. And then that will be set aside. So we're seeing multiple steps of the DNA testing here, getting closer and closer, and the noose is tightening.
Cece Moore, you're the brilliant genetic genealogist. There's got to be a better way to say it than I said it, because I had a really lengthy, circuitous sentence to try to explain this stat. What I'm trying to say, and I would have to work on this before I went to a jury, Jack. Absolutely. I'm trying to say that it's 99.9998 to 1 that this DNA comes from anybody but the killer's bio dad. What's an easy way to say that?
You're never going to hear them say 100%. That's just not how the scientists present this type of evidence. They're saying he cannot be excluded as the father or the parent of the suspect or of the person who left the DNA behind at the crime scene. And so these numbers are astronomical. Like you said, it is greater than the number of people in the whole world, many times over. And so it's just their way of explaining the level of confidence that they have in this. But it is not going to be what it will be used in court eventually. That's all they needed to get this arrest done. And they may have more DNA evidence that they just didn't list in the affidavit because it wasn't necessary. As you said, they're just going to lay out what they need to get that next step without showing all their cards immediately.
Joining me also, Brian Fitzgibbon, VP Operations, USPA Nationwide Security. Brian, I want you to hear something. It ups the creepy factor, if that's even possible. Take a listen to our cut 247, Sebastian Robertson.
The suspect's phone was used at least a dozen times near the suspect's home ahead of the murders, and notably, investigators say the phone was turned off at the time of the killings.
It's obviously an emotional time for the family, seeing the defendant for the first time. This is the beginning of the criminal justice system, and the family will be here for the long haul.
The suspect's phone was used at least, and I emphasize at least, 12 times near the victim's home, beginning back in June up until November 13, the day of the murders. Can you just imagine that, Fitzgibbons?
Well, I'll tell you, Nancy, it's similar to him leaving behind the sheath. That data exhaust from these 12 trips that he took to the murder site previously that they were able to obtain through that historical cell site location information is going to be a key part of this case. And it's important for everybody to know that that cellular analysis survey team that the FBI has, that data that they have is very precise, very accurate. That look back period where they're able to see Kohberger's phone in the vicinity of the King Road residence is going to be tremendously impactful as this thing moves forward.
Joining me, in addition to Laura Engel, Cheryl McCullum, Joe Scott, Brian Fitzgibbons, joining me right now, Chris and Cece Moore. Chris McDonough is with us, Director, Cold Case Foundation, former homicide detective. I found him on a YouTube channel, The Interview Room. Chris McDonough, I want to go to you because you've carefully examined all around the victim's King Road home. What do you make of what Laura Engel is telling us about the possibility that roommate D.M. Dylan Morganson was on the second floor? And what do you make of the defendant being around their perimeter 12 times at very odd times of the day and night? And significantly, Jack, is that he has his cell phone on all the time, except he turns it off a couple of hours at the time of the murder or puts it on airplane mode. I love it when they do that. Jump in.
Well, a couple things jump out, Nancy, right away. Is his undergraduate degree is in psychology and cloud-based forensics. So, and he was signing up for an internship with the local PD to teach him about how to avoid, how criminals avoid detection in that. Something else that
I don't know if you heard that, but yeah. So I was going to ask you actually the same thing. For real. For real asked, was Brian the stalker Kayla Gonzalez talked about? I was going to ask the same thing. I'm wondering now if, in fact, he was. In the beginning of the case, when we first heard about a possible stalker, I almost put it to the back of my mind, like, oh no, they're just young girls. That's a lot of girls will say that in their life. I've said it before in my 20s, like, oh, I got a stalker, meaning like it wasn't somebody following me around like this guy was, obviously. It would be like somebody that's like overly calling me or like overly like getting on MySpace at the time and messaging me or Facebook. So that's what I kind of took it as. But then now that we're hearing about Brian and how his phone was pinging over there 12 different times that we know of, I think that he was in fact her stalker. And I think that she was letting everybody kind of know that too. Hi, Princess Mega Elsa. You think that now too, Miss Kelly? Oh, I must have put my chapstick in my eye because it's burning. Not cool. Let's see here. Oh, look, we got all kinds. So I'm going to tell you that this group of people that we have in our chat, I started my channel to be it was more of a trauma channel. It was because I was in a really bad car accident. So I literally have metal from my head to my toes, prosthetic eye, the whole nine. So if you guys are into trauma related things as well, subscribe to the channel also, because I have tons of content that have to do with both that and true crime. So there's all kinds of content to watch. I've been doing actually YouTube for 3 years. I just switched over and started growing my channel with true crime in August. So there wasn't a huge outpour of people that needed my help with a prosthetic eye, I guess. But now that I'm meeting new people, people do need my help. So we'll go ahead and listen to Nancy. She's only got like 14 more minutes to go. Oh, and I do love that she told that one lady to start over and speak with their names and use their names because they're people. I love Nancy for those things.
Is really bothering me is the fact that the police have now identified this homicide goes down between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. The fact that these 12 contacts, which we would call pre-incident behaviors, occur through the cell phone analysis is exactly what we've been talking about here on this panel in your show, Nancy, is this guy spent a lot of time taking a look at his target set. And that brings me then to Dylan. This child, there's one part of the affidavit that just stuck out to me, where the officer says she stood in a frozen shock phase. What that told me, writing many affidavits through my career, is this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to get those explanations as to why there was a delay, as well as the hideous statement by the suspect that she hears. It's okay. I'm going to help you. I did the little boy in Southern California in 1998, Matthew Checky, in the bathroom. The suspect stood behind him and says, "You know me. I'm here to kill you." I got chills when I read this statement from this witness, because I can only imagine the shock, the fear, the terror in her mind. And then later to find out there's a footprint at her bedroom door from this suspect. So did he come back in after she closed the door to finish the deal, or get the sheet that he left behind on the third floor?
Something you said, Chris McDonough, I think needs to be emphasized even more so. Everyone is ready to put a lynch mob on the roommate, DM, Dylan Morganson, for hiding in her bedroom. She's a child. I think many of these victims were very sheltered. This was the first time they had lived away from home. And when she says, "I was in a frozen shock state," you refer to a case I know very well, the case of a little boy in California named Matthew Checky. As I recall, he was about 9 years old, and he was at a family picnic reunion sort of deal on the ocean, and he wanted to go to the bathroom, and his aunt said, "Oh, I'll go," and they went to the public bathroom. Everything was fine. And the aunt stood outside the door, and in those few moments, a guy goes in and slashes Matthew's neck. Just never had met him, didn't know anything about him, just went in and murdered him. Matthew Checky. Straight out to Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst joining us out of Beverly Hills at drbethanymarshall.com. Dr. Bethany, everyone is screaming the PC doesn't show the motive. Well, it doesn't have to, number one. And number two, that is not the state's burden to figure out, wow, why would you do such a thing? We could talk about that at the water cooler. The state's duty is to get the right person in the right jurisdiction and try them according to the Constitution and get a true verdict. That is the state's duty. They're not shrinks. But while we're on it, what do you think? I'm beginning to wonder if this was, he would do these odd experiments, questionnaires, if this was just another one of his bizarre experiments with human guinea pigs. Or was he so immersed in the world of murder that it consumed him?
I think you just explained the whole motivation right there. He was immersed in the world of murder. But let me roll out one simple fact here. There are 8 factors that are associated with serial killers. When you look at their history, childhood abuse and neglect, torturing animals, I could go on. But one factor is voyeurism. Almost all serial killers stalk their victims, and they are voyeurs, meaning they're like peeping Toms. And they don't just look and, scroll TikTok and Instagram. They look and masturbate, Nancy. Let's just be honest here. They are in a sexual frenzy while they are stalking their victims. That is it right there. So the crime began last June. It wasn't just when he was plunging a knife into his victims. That was just the cherry on the ice cream sundae right there. The crime started in June when he selected these 4 victims. Victim selection is so important to serial killers. That's where the excitement is. Watching, stalking, looking, masturbating, peeping, learning everything about the victims, inserting themselves into their crime. And it was during this time that he put out these strange, odd questionnaires, wondering, asking even a prison population, what were you thinking before, during, after the crime? How did you engage in victim selection? Because he was engaging in victim selection. So while we might find semen at the crime, I think what we're going to find is all the sexual activity and motivation occurred before
before the crime. And then killing them was just like the final coup de grace. That was the end of it. So this is a sad thing about this case is the crime went on for months and months and months, and there was no way to detect it, and there was no way to have detected it. We're just putting the pieces together after the fact. And just a quick comment about the poor roommate who saw him with the, the bushy eyebrows and the athletic build. Yes, she's just a child. She had no idea. She didn't know what we know now. She had no way to put the pieces together. She's just a little girl who shut her door and was used to people coming in and out of that house because remember, this is a college town, so kids come in all hours of the day or night partying and even just sitting up on their beds and talking. And yes, she was scared, but it was 4 a.m. Of course, she locked the door and went to bed. That is no surprise.
A few days before Christmas, Janelle Matthews disappeared from her home. There were no signs of a struggle, no eyewitness.
Been released to the news yet?
At least it's a good liar that he can convince the juror that he wasn't involved.
Follow Suspect, Vanished in the Snow on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus and Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.
I'm Joseph Scott Morgan. I was the youngest medical legal death investigator in the country. I started my career on the mean streets of New Orleans and finished up as a senior investigator with the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office in Atlanta. The first time I ever made a death notification, I knew after that moment that I was going to try to be as compassionate as I possibly could. When families are rocked by death, the only thing they really want are answers. They ask how, where, sometimes why. They have no understanding. And for me, I would have to give voice to those things, to describe them, to make them make sense, if you will. When all is said and done, I was their advocate. I was the voice of the dead. I speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. Listen to Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace.
With me, high-profile lawyer out of Jacksonville, former FBI agent Dale Carson at DaleCarsonLaw.com. Dale, I want you to take a listen to Judge Megan Marshall, the Loudoun County Magistrate, in Our Cut 250A.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogen, from which she died, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
To Dale Carson, I don't know if you've ever worked in any death penalty cases, but the law is very clear based on case precedent. It's not in the Constitution, but it is a result of the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. When you have a death penalty case and you are selecting your defense team, the defense team, if the state is appointing lawyers, has to be made up of at least one, if not more, death penalty qualified lawyers. Explain.
Those lawyers are specially trained to deal with these kinds of cases, and they have very thorough training. It takes probably a year and a half of additional training in order to represent people charged with a capital offense, an offense that could end up in the death penalty. And these cases take quite a while to pursue and prosecute. And the defense team also has the same requirement. So this is something, if he in fact goes to trial and he's not given a deal to plead to life instead of the death penalty, then the result could well be that the trial will take a number of years to process.
I don't know if it's going to take a number of years, but I could easily see it taking a year. Remember, this is Idaho, not California or New York. This case is going to go to trial. COVID is not a threat at this juncture anyway to striking a jury. COVID has put the skids on jury selection for years now, but we're in a different phase. Jurors are being called to the courthouse. We're not on hold because of COVID. Another thing, take a listen to Our Cut 251. Again, this is Judge Marshall speaking.
And Mr. Kohberger, would you like to represent yourself, hire a lawyer, or see if you qualify for court-appointed counsel?
I have court-appointed counsel.
Court has reviewed your application for attorney at public expense. I do find that you are indigent and do qualify for court-appointed counsel. I will appoint Ms. Taylor to represent you in this case.
So you may wonder where all your tax dollars go. To people like Bryan Kohberger, we're going to pay for his death penalty defense team. Now, before he even left Pennsylvania, a defense lawyer was in place for him, and it is defense attorney Ann Taylor. Now, what Del Carson said is absolutely correct. To achieve further death penalty qualifications to defend or prosecute a case like that, the most common way of getting that training is to sit a second or third chair when another lawyer that's qualified tries a DP case, death penalty case. I'm pretty sure if you could check it, Sid, that the mode of death will be the needle in Idaho, death by lethal injection. Straight back out to Laura Engel, senior correspondent joining us from Fox News. Laura, again, thank you for being with us. Laura, what do you believe will happen next?
Well, his bail was denied in that court hearing, and then he'll make his next appearance on the 12th of this month. So that is the next time we expect him back in court. And as we continue to pore over this affidavit, not only the probable cause affidavit, when you go back and you look at that Indiana State Police body cam footage of when he was stopped, and we've seen it, we can't help but study it because we hear him and we see him. And if you look closely at one of those traffic stops by the Indiana State Police as he was traveling with his father from the state of Washington to Pennsylvania, where we were camped out outside of the jail where he was held, you can't help but notice there is a mark on his right wrist. And we've looked at that closely. It looks fresh, so I don't know what that means. But that is another clue. His demeanor, his voice, that is something that will be, of course, heavily analyzed by law enforcement and by all of us.
Joe Scott Morgan joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. Joe Scott, we also learned that the defendant, Kohberger, thoroughly cleaned his car on multiple occasions. He was watched doing it. You think he got rid of all the evidence? If so, why? And if not, why?
No, absolutely not. There's no way. I don't care how much he thinks he cleaned it. He did not do a sufficient job compared to what they're doing to it in the garage right now at probably the FBI in Pennsylvania at one of their evidence collection sites. They're taking this car apart, literally. They're taking the seats out, carpet, headliner, everything, and they're going in with every possible agent that they have at their disposal. And I don't mean FBI agents. I'm talking about chemicals that they can place. We're talking about luminol, maybe Blue Star. They're also going through here with probably evidence vacuums as well, right, which goes down to a different strata, can pull things up that this guy would have missed.
And to you, Cece Moore joining us, chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs, was the best way, and I'm not saying it's going to work, but what do you expect to be the attack by the defense on the DNA?
Well, they're not going to use anything that was found from investigative genetic genealogy if that is still in play. I think it is. I think they just left it out of the affidavit because it was just a lead generator. It's not evidence. So they're going to focus on those astronomical numbers that you mentioned. They're going to say this DNA on this sheath or whatever else they may have in their evidence from DNA is from this person. In the stats will be something like 1 in 300 trillion chance. And then maybe they'll find some of the victim's DNA and all that work that they are doing on his car.
I'm saying, how is the defense going to attack the DNA analysis?
Well, the defense is going to have a difficult time with all of this evidence adding up.
Come on, Cece, put it out there. They're going to have to pull an OJ. They're going to have to come up with some crazy theory that the blood was planted, that it was tampered with, that it has been somehow compromised. That's the only way. You can't fight with 1 in 300 trillion.
Well, that piece could have been placed there. And it's a separate
there we go.
piece of
See,
evidence.
didn't take long. You know what, CC Moore? I shouldn't have asked you that question because in order to catch a varmint, you got to think like a varmint, and you just don't think like a defense lawyer.
All right, so let's talk about what a type of DNA on that sheet.
In a nutshell,
It's
Single source.
that DNA is likely to be touch DNA, a few skin cells, and they're going to say it could have been transferred, it could have been there for a different reason, and it doesn't necessarily place him at the crime scene.
You know, Cece, I only hope that's what they argue.
They're going to say this was a party house and kids were coming in and out all the time, and Kohberger was likely a guest or just some random person that came in to party with the kids, and that's when the DNA was left.
On a knife. Okay. See, I hope that's what they argue. Bryan Fitzgibbons with us, VP of Operations at USPA Nationwide Security. Bryan, I'm just trying to, if you want to win, you don't just put your case up. You lay awake at night and you think, what are they going to do? How are they going to try to attack me? And you go through each witness and each piece of evidence with a fine-tooth comb and you figure out, what's my problem? Where's my crack? How can I shoot them down before they can kill me? Hey, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Reagan came up with the Star Wars defense, how we're going to shoot down missiles that are coming toward the U.S.? And everybody at the time thought, wow, impossible. It is possible. And this is how you win a trial. You shoot them down before they can torpedo you. What is the defense going to do, Bryan?
I think one of the pieces that they're going to attack is the cell phone data. Not all cell phone data is created equal. I think in this case, there was definitely a flex in the affidavit showing that FBI team involved here and the precise locations they were able to grab from Kohberger in that historical data. But that's a definite that they will attack that in the past. And certainly in some high profile cases in the past, cell phone data can be misleading. So I think that there's definitely going to be an attack on that.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Bryan Fitzgibbons. They're going to be all over that cell phone data. We wait as this case unfolds. Goodbye, friend.
I'm Joseph Scott Morgan. I'm Joseph.
Okie dokie. So that was her. I was like, man, that went over. And then I was like, is this like an hour and 57 more minutes or what is going on with her? Because I thought it was 42 minutes, but it was. But they did, she just came out and kind of told us what was in the probable cause affidavit a little more clearly. I'm wondering, and I'm going to do a live on this tomorrow. I'm going to do a live over, like going back over the house, the layout of the house and the different angles. And I want to see if the suspect, in fact, saw Dylan, because just because she saw him, maybe he didn't see her. The way that the house is angled, it's angled very strange. And when I was looking at it earlier, I don't know, just the way that it's angled, it could be a possibility that he didn't even see her, that she was sat back into the doorway far enough to where, it was dark for her, maybe a shadow over her, but where he couldn't see her, but where she could see him. So that's what I'm going to go over on tomorrow. It's live, but I'm going to let you know about Nancy tonight. Okay, so anyways, Nancy is always watching. Nancy is. I love Nancy and Ashley myself. Ashley's my girl. That's my girl. She took a week's vacation, and I almost cried on my live. And Jamie, I never thought I would say this, but we've actually had a lot in common tonight on this live, and I see your picture, and it looks like a Dallas Cowboy. And I'm an Eagles fan. So with that said, I'm pretty sure that this has never happened in my life, where I've been in good standing with, you know, a Cowboys fan, because Eagles and Cowboys fans normally, they don't mix. But no, and congratulations on winning the game last week, I guess. But I saw the ear emoji. I thought that was cute. I think the guy is very, Scarlett said, I think this guy may very well plead innocence because he seems to have executed these murders as part of a custom degree in homicide. His facial expressions show an acute exhilaration throughout. Yes, I believe that. So I'm going to say it. Vincent he might be right about this one, because since he's came out and he's found out that he was like a PhD student, we were trying to figure out motive and things like that. I think it was even before he was even caught, Vincent said this, but he said something along the lines of, I think this guy, whoever did this, he committed these crimes to see if he could get away with it. And then now that he's came out that he's a PhD student, he like really doubled over on that belief. And I'm like, how are you better at this than I am? Hello, I went to school for this. No, he's just a really good guesser. No. So I think that he has like he has some good points. Why didn't we have a sketch of what she saw 6 weeks ago? That I do not know. They probably didn't want to release a sketch of somebody that is 6 foot, or no, somebody that's what she said, 5'10", approximately 5'10", bushy eyebrows, thin build, athletic. That's every student on the University of Idaho State campus, I feel like. You know what I mean? I feel like with that, they wouldn't maybe put that out. I don't know, though. They should have, maybe. I mean, they put out the white car. It's the same thing with Ted Bundy. He was exiting the college dorm by a survivor. He was seen, yeah. And he, 3 or 4 of the girls, 2 died, 2 didn't. So crazy. Yeah, I don't think that he's going to get away with this. I think he has 0 chance. And I think that they didn't, yeah, I think that Miss Kelly's right. I think they wanted us to think that they didn't have what they had on him, because they really kept it tight to the vest. Like the Chief Fry, he's my guy Smiley, you know, like you cannot help but to look at him and smile sometimes, because he almost is smiling, even though like that's just his face. And what was I going to say? I don't even know. Oh, so for him to stay tight-lipped and not say anything on any interviews, he kept saying, well, we don't really have anything. We don't really have anything. Nothing here. Nothing to see here. Maybe a white Elantra. I mean, I think that they really held that close to the vest. That 0.2%, if you were watching, you missed it. It was right before you came into the chat. Cece Moore, who works for Parabon, she does all the genealogy. She's the master of DNA. She said that there will never be an instance where it is a 100% match. That is just science. It is always 99.9% or 99.8%. It's always like a 2% off match. So I think that's why it's never, because I've never seen a 100% match on anything. And she kind of explained that in the podcast with Nancy. The cops were all over this guy early. I believe that too. I've read this probably 15 times, and I keep finding more and more information out every time I read it. The way they found everybody, they didn't really state where they found like Ethan, if he was on the bed or if he was off of the bed, but just the way that they found everybody, the way that, you know, Dylan might have seen Dylan did see somebody. I think Bethany didn't see anything. I think she was just downstairs sleeping, personally. Yeah, they wanted to get as much as they could get. Yeah, hats off to Ellie. Yeah, I think that they did a great job. I really do. I think they did a good job. So I am going to do a live tomorrow. If you guys haven't liked the video yet, please do so. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. It's fun. I don't know why sometimes it makes me like, I have to like approve the messages, some of them. Oh, I love that name, Be Happy. Yeah, exactly. This is just the beginning, like literally the beginning. But I am whoever, like the officer, it says statement of Brett Payne. So I don't know if I'm assuming that Brett Payne wrote this as well. Thank you for being so detailed. 19 pages, you know? I think that's pretty darn detailed. So I'll take that over nothing. I'm really glad that we got something, you know, because, yeah, it was just bad. Let me go back up here. And the Eagles, baby. Yes, I saw that message. Eagles forever. Forever and ever. I'm from Philadelphia, so my dad engraved that into our heads. Well, me and my brother. My brother's Cincinnati Bengals fan, though. But I've always been an Eagles fan. I have my little Eagles ornament that I put on my tree every year. Just makes me feel like I'm at home. But we did take a beating a little bit. But we are still first. Number one. It's okay. We're still number one. But yep. So I think that's all I really have for you guys today. I do have some stuff for you guys tomorrow. And let me check. I always like to check on Twitter to make sure, you know, nothing's happening that we need to know about. Also, on Sunday, I am going to do a special live. We are going to watch the Idaho murder mystery on, if you guys want to watch with me, it's on News Nation, but Brian Eaton's going to anchor it. He is going to report live from Moscow, and he's just going to like tell us some new details and some timelines. So we're going to be hearing some new information, it sounds like, from Mr. Bryan. But I will be on for a live tomorrow. I believe, what's tomorrow? Saturday? Maybe like in the morning. Maybe in the morning. I don't know. What do you guys think? Morning, afternoon, something like that. I'll be on tomorrow. But yeah, so I will be on tomorrow. I'm going to jump off of here for now. I'm going to get some sleep. I like almost fall asleep. And I did fall asleep in the chair before the live earlier, like this morning. I was so tired. I was like out of it. But if you haven't checked out, I have videos. I have 2 videos that I uploaded today. I did a live this morning at 9:15. I did this live. Tons of stuff to watch. I definitely did my due diligence for the day. But thank you so much for joining me for yet another video. I really appreciate you. Eagles play Sunday at 4:25. Well, they better be done by 9 o'clock. No, we'll just play it on this TV, and I will watch on this TV. That's okay, or on this monitor. So you guys have a great evening. I really appreciate you guys coming and spending a little bit of your evening with me. Have a great weekend if I don't get to see you before Monday. And I probably will see you tomorrow if you're in the area, you know, of YouTube. So I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.